Hi everyone, I welcome you all to this next lecture of the key concepts in Indian polity series. As you know, in this series, I've been making videos on some of the most important concepts that you need to understand and remember for Indian polity from both the prelims and the mains examination point of view. If you want me to cover any other topic, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I'll do my best to make a video on that as well. The next video that I have today, we will be discussing a key phrase. Are there two key phrases that you will hear very often, especially with regards to the idea of judicial review and fundamental rights. That is due process of law and procedure established by law. What exactly is the difference between the two? Which one is used in the Indian judicial system? Where is the other one used? This is what we'll try and understand in this particular lecture. Now, to understand this idea, first let's understand there's something called judicial review. Judicial review, in simple terms, is the power of the higher judiciary, that is the Supreme Court and the High Courts in India, to strike down a law made by the legislature, either at the state or at the central level, or to strike down any executive action. So any action that is taken by the executive which is not in line with the constitution, any law that they create which is not in line with the constitution is struck down by the higher judiciary. The same idea of judicial review is used in the American Supreme Court as well. The American Supreme Court can also strike down the laws of their legislature or the executive action. However, the difference between the two Supreme Courts, that is the Indian one and the American one, lies in how do they interpret whether a law has to be struck down or not. This is where two important principles come in the picture. First principle, due process of law, and second principle is procedure established by law. Let's try and understand this with a simple example to make it better for you and make it easier for your understanding. Let's assume for a moment that the Indian Parliament makes a law. The law states that from tomorrow onwards, if you cross a red light, that is, you jump the red light, the signal was red, but you kept on driving. If you are found guilty of that, your entire property will be taken away. Imagine this. Doesn't matter how much your property has. If you're Mr. Ambani, Adani, Tata, doesn't really matter. The moment you are found that you have jumped the red light, all your property will be taken away. Now, the question is, if someone challenges this particular law in the Supreme Court, will the Supreme Court allow this law to continue or will they not allow the law to continue? Let's try and understand this with the two principles that we were talking about. So the first principle is due process of law. And the second principle, procedure established by law. Now, in the procedure established by law principle, the second principle, the Supreme Court of India will not look into whether the law is fair, is it just. They will not look into how is it that the parliament can take away your entire property for one simple offense. It is unfair. But in procedure established by law, Supreme Court is not concerned with that. They are only concerned with whether the law was made in a legal manner or not. It is legal because Parliament has been given the power to make a law on this subject. So Parliament made the law, as simple as that. So if the Supreme Court has to judge this particular law with this principle, procedure established by law, then that law will be valid. Supreme Court will not question how can you take away the entire property. They will not question anything like that. Their only argument will be, is the law as per the constitution? Is it made under the powers given to the parliament under the constitution? That is it. On the other hand, if the second principle is used, which is due process of law, this principle was usually used in the American Supreme Court. When American Supreme Court will look into the same law, they will look into whether the law is fair or not. Is it just or not? Now think about it. Is it just that just by crossing or jumping a red light, you're taking away the entire property that people would have earned in their lifetime? It is not fair. It's not just. So the American Supreme Court, using the due process of law, can strike down the law. So under this principle, the same law will be invalid. Thus, these two principles are mainly used to check the validity of the law, while the due process of law is much wider. It actually allows the court to strike down the laws even if they are unfair, unjust. On the other hand, procedure established by law that was usually used in the Indian system, it did not allow the Supreme Court to strike down the law if they are unjust. It only asked that the Supreme Court should just check whether the law was made in a legal manner or not, nothing more than that. Now, why is it so important to understand in Indian context? The entire debate between the two has to be seen in the context of Article number 21. Article number 21 is the one article which has been a lot in the news, especially with respect to these two. Now, what is Article 21? Article 21 is this: no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except under procedure established by law. Meaning, if the state wants to take away your life or personal liberty, they can, but only with the procedure established by law. They are not saying that the law may be unfair, even that is fine. But as far as the law says it is as per the procedure established, the life can be taken away. Let me give you one more example to understand this better. As per Article 21's text, if the parliament tomorrow makes a law that says that if you jump the red light, you will be given death sentence. Imagine this, that if you jump the red light, you will be given death sentence. Article 21 says that death sentence will be valid. Why? Because that death sentence is as per the procedure established by law. They are not saying that it has to be under the due process of law. No, 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 no. They are not saying it has to be just. They are only saying it has to be only as per the procedure established by law. So Article 21 only recognizes the legality of the law. It doesn't look into whether law is fair or not. So Indian Supreme Court used to follow this till 1978. Till 1978, whenever the Supreme Court had to adjudicate any case, had to interpret a law, they only used this particular principle. However, things started to change after 1978, and I'll tell you how it started to change. But before that, look into a bit of history about it. This idea of due process of law started with something called the Magna Carta. Magna Carta was this historical document in Britain that first led to the transfer of powers from the monarch to the parliament. So it is said to be the first democratic document around the world where the powers were given in the hands of elected representatives. So emerged in 2015, that is the idea that the law of the land should be the final word, not just the wish of the king. Similarly, in the American Constitution as well, the Constitution talked about due process of law. That is, the law has to be fair, the law has to be just. When it came to India's Constituent Assembly, however, our Constituent Assembly avoided the use of this phrase. Our Constitution does not say due process of law. Our Constitution rather uses the term procedure established by law. The reason being, we wanted to give the Parliament the power to decide how the law will be made. As long as a law is as per the Parliament's power, it should not be struck down. So the Constitution makers did not use the phrase due process of law. The Constitution makers were happy by using the phrase procedure established by law. Why? To preserve the sovereignty of the Parliament, so that the Parliament doesn't have to face these random questions by the judiciary that why have you made this law, it's unfair. This was done to make the Parliament more powerful. However, things started to change in India with 1978. However, before that, and also to understand Article 21, there are two important Supreme Court cases that you should remember. First, the A.K. Gopalan case of 1950. Mr. Gopalan in 1950 was arrested by the police under preventive detention. Preventive detention, as you know, under Article 22, you can be arrested even if you have not committed a crime. If the police believes that you might commit a crime going forward, they will arrest you beforehand so that you are not allowed to go there or disturb the law and order. He challenged it in the Supreme Court. He said that the preventive detention law is unconstitutional because it is unfair, it is unjust. Supreme Court, however, did not agree. Supreme Court said Article 21 only says that your personal liberty cannot be taken away except by procedure established by law. So in the case of Mr. Gopalan, your personal liberty was taken away as per the procedure established by law. So you can't question the fairness or whether the law was just or not. In other words, in A.K. Gopalan case, the Supreme Court gave a very narrow interpretation of Article 21. They did not expand it. They said, don't worry, as long as your liberty is being taken away as per the law established by the parliament, this is good enough for us. We will not strike this down. This was the first attempt by the Supreme Court to interpret Article 21. Then comes one of the most famous cases in India's history, the Maneka Gandhi case of 1978. Just a bit of background, what was the case? Maneka Gandhi, the wife of Sanjay Gandhi, she was an editor of a magazine, a very famous magazine at that time called Surya. So she ran the Surya magazine. In that magazine, she had published some objectionable photos of son of the home minister at that time. Now, it was the Janata Party government, the same Janata Party that had come to power after emergency had ended. In the Janata Party, Babu Jagjeevan Ram was the home minister. He was an ex-Congress leader, by the way. So Babu Jagjeevan Ram, a very, very, very big Dalit leader at that time. Many people call him the next Dalit leader after Ambedkar. He was India's home minister. The Surya magazine published some photographs of his son with a lady, some objectionable photos to put some allegations. The home minister got very angry and Maneka Gandhi's passport was taken away. Means she was not allowed to leave the country. No reason was given to her, no explanation was given to her. So she filed a case in the Supreme Court that Article 21, that is my personal liberty, is being taken away because I have not been given any reason. This is where Supreme Court again had to interpret Article 21. Whether the personal liberty can be taken away, is it fair, is it unfair? This is where the Supreme Court changed its earlier stand. The Supreme Court says that, especially with regards to your personal liberty, it cannot be taken away through a random or unfair or unjust law. The Supreme Court said that with regards to your life and personal liberty, this is so important that we have to follow the due process of law here. That in such cases, procedure established by law is not enough. We have to look into the due process of law. Supreme Court said Article 21 can only be upheld, can only be protected if Articles 14 and 19 are also protected at the same time. Article 21 cannot be read alone randomly. 14, 19 and 21, as per the Supreme Court, these three formed the golden triangle of the fundamental rights. And these three have to be seen and read and understood together in order for them to actually preserve the personal liberty of the individual. Since then, the Supreme Court, especially with regards to Article 21, has started to use due process of law as a principle of judging the laws. Now the court says that if the law is unfair or unjust, even then we can strike down the law. And that has been a shift that we have seen even today. Till today, 14, 19 and 21, these three articles are together read whenever the Supreme Court has to interpret any case with regards to personal liberty. And as I said, that is why these are called as a golden triangle of Part 3 of the Constitution. Since then, as you all would have read, Article 21 has been expanded quite considerably. Now, Article 21 includes a lot of things, not just right to life and personal liberty. It also includes right to travel abroad, that was in the Maneka Gandhi case, right to sleep, right to privacy, right to marry the person of your choice, right against handcuffs, right to clean environment, right to clean drinking water. All these have now been made a part of Article 21 because a much more liberal interpretation of Article 21 has now been made by the Supreme Court. All these cases that you see here are examples of how Article 21 has been expanded. The Puttaswamy case, which the UPS is also asked in the prelims, this was the case where the government said that Supreme Court rather said right to privacy is a part of Article 21. The Olga Tellis case, where the Supreme Court had said that you cannot just randomly evict people who live on the streets, you have to give them some time. All these laws have been extremely important. They have all been expanded by the Supreme Court and they have been made a part of Article 21 because Supreme Court now uses this phrase of due process of law. These are the other examples. The Olga Tellis case, as I was telling, the question in this case was, can pavement dwellers, means people living on the footpath, can they be randomly evicted without notice? Supreme Court said no. Can police surveillance and visits to places at night, can they be said to be a violation of fundamental rights? Supreme Court said yes. You cannot randomly at night visit people's place. This is again a violation of fundamental right. K.S. Puttaswamy case, where the question were about Aadhaar, the government not being able to preserve Aadhaar data. Again, the Supreme Court said that right to privacy is a part of fundamental right. All these are examples where the Supreme Court expanded Article 21 using the due process of law, underlining the fact that all the laws related to Article 21 should not just be as per the procedure, but should be fair, should be just. Otherwise, they can be struck down by the judiciary. This is how you can compare the two. Now, India and America, both the Supreme Courts utilize a due process of law. In India, it is still very much related to Article 21. In America, all the laws, not just Article 21 related, all the laws are judged on the idea of due process of law, on the idea whether they are fair and just. In India, at least with Article 21, it has been the case. It has been used by the Supreme Court to expand many fundamental rights, especially Article 21 from time to time. And that was all after the famous Maneka Gandhi case. This is everything that you needed to know about Article 21, due process of law and procedure established by law, which is an extremely important topic for your examination. I hope you liked the video. In case you want this PDF, please join my Telegram channel. The link is in the description of the video. If you need any more help with any of these topics, which are key concepts in Indian polity, let me know in the comment section. I'll be happy to make a video on that as well. If you're new here, do hit the like and the subscribe button. I would highly appreciate that. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Jai Hind.